But before we get into any of that, most South Africans know your story. It'll be 19 years this year, correct?
Since breaking my back.
Yes.
Yeah, 2007. So yeah, you got me doing some maths. Yeah, 19 years. Well done.
19 years since you broke your back in the middle of you were biking.
Yeah, it was a race down in Heidelberg, and just a couple of 100 meters off the start, into the first corner, off-road motorcycles, and a guy crashed into the back of me. We both went down. I was unconscious for a few minutes, woke up and couldn't feel my legs. Yeah.
Couldn't feel your legs. If I remember correctly, in that moment, you were laying on the ground and you were spitting out mud.
Yeah.
Or what you thought was mud.
Yeah, dirt and stones and some mud and stuff, and it turned out to be my teeth.
Welcome back to another episode of Good Things with myself, Brent Lindeque, the Good Things guy. I am excited! I say that every week, but I'm so excited. I've got Joey Evans in studio with me. And Joey, hi. It's so great to have you here.
So lucky to be here and see you again. Good stuff, bud.
So to the lead up to today, I was like, I actually want to go back and sort of, I don't want to say look at my history with you.
Cool.
But I featured you for the first time, which you don't know. For the first time in 2017, January 2017, you were busy with the Dakar.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was on Cliff Central at the time.
Yes.
And we sort of reported on you being the last South African standing.
Oh, dude, I didn't know that.
And
That's sweet.
There were three truths that I said in that podcast on the show. The first was that I've never watched Dakar before.
Okay.
So I'm not a big sports enthusiast.
No, we heard, but carry on.
We're not going to judge. We're not going to judge. The second was that I'd never really heard your story before.
Yeah.
And the weekend prior to the show, I was in Hearties with a bunch of friends, and one of my friends, Brandon Jarvis, is Dakar, like avid Dakar follower.
Okay, so he's a good oak, is what you're saying.
He's a good oak.
Okay,
he's a good
gotcha.
oak. And like he had the app, and even though we were there on holiday at 9 o'clock at night, we had to watch the highlights. We all had to sit down, and so he told me about your story, and I relayed that story on air. And while we were on air, people were sending WhatsApps. It's on the show, so I listened to it this morning, and they were just so inspired by you and your journey. And listening back to that, it's like a full circle moment for me. And then, obviously, when I was with Jacaranda, I had you on the show when you were with Terrence, and we're going to speak about that in a little bit.
Okay, good.
We're going to speak about that in a little bit.
Remembered, yeah.
But before we get into any of that, most South Africans know your story. It'll be 19 years this year, correct?
Since breaking my back.
Yes.
Yeah, 2007. So yeah, you got me doing some maths. Yeah, 19 years. Well done.
19 years since you broke your back in the middle of you were biking.
Yeah, it was a race down in Heidelberg, and just a couple of 100 meters off the start, into the first corner, off-road motorcycles, and a guy crashed into the back of me. We both went down. I was unconscious for a few minutes, woke up and couldn't feel my legs. Yeah.
Couldn't feel your legs. If I remember correctly, in that moment, you were laying on the ground and you were spitting out mud.
Yeah.
Or what you thought was mud.
Yeah, dirt and stones and some mud and stuff, and it turned out to be my teeth. So I shattered 12 teeth right down into the gums, and I cut all my lips and tongue and everything as well, because it was like a compression. And so, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. Yeah.
But, and again, you can tell me if I'm wrong here. This is from your book. And
you got a good memory here. You're doing good. You're doing good.
When you sort of came to, it was quite confusing.
Yeah.
And you didn't quite know what was going on. And I think your first words were, "Did I win?"
100%. Yep, that's it. I saw it was one of those where I'd realized I'd crashed. Obviously, I didn't know the extent of it, and it sounds crazy, but I've been unconscious before, and you kind of come around, you see all these faces, you're like, I know what I've done, you know what I mean? I've had a bit of a crash. And so I was kind of jokey about it. I was like, hey, did I win? And everyone kind of laughed, and it was like, and then we realized I can't feel my legs. And obviously then it just went like, woof, and everything changed to being very serious. Yeah.
What was that moment like? Because obviously you don't know the extremity of what is going on.
Yeah.
But you know that something's not right.
Yeah, so it was one of those where like, whoa, this is obviously serious. But as for like most guys, people don't know what spinal cord injuries are. You see guys in wheelchairs, and you've heard words paraplegic, quadriplegic, you don't really like understand it. And so for me at the time, I'm like, okay, we've had a big crash. This is going to be some healing. This is going to be some time. This is going to be 6 weeks not racing or whatever. And you kind of like in that sort of headspace. And then when I got to the hospital, and as the thing's playing out, and they're saying you're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, and this is it. Suddenly it's like, what? And then you start to learn, and then that full heaviness kind of hits.
And that full heaviness, it lasted for many years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that you were dealing with that, and I guess everything that comes with that as well, right? Because it's completely life-changing.
Massively.
One moment you're this extreme sportsman who's a bit of a crazy adventurer, and the next you kind of can't be that person anymore.
Oh yeah, it's totally, and it kind of gave me a lot of empathy at those times and since, because people would see me in a wheelchair, missing half of my teeth, and you lose all bowel control and bladder control and stuff. So you got a bag of urine strapped to your legs, you're wearing nappies, wheelchair, missing teeth, this kind of thing. And so when people see you, they have a certain perception of you and they speak to you in a certain way. And so what you look like and who you are up here, like it doesn't match. And I think that was something that like, I see that a lot in older people. You know, you got a guy who's an older guy, you know, he's a bit decrepit and that kind of stuff. Meantime, this guy was like an incredible dude, you know, back in the day, and he's done all sorts of cool, crazy stuff, and he's lived through wars, and but they don't see that. They see this kind of old guy, and I think a lot of people are different on the inside to what they look like.
That's incredibly powerful, and I think going through that sort of space or chapter in your life has made you who you are today. And we'll get into that because you've written books and you're doing motivational speaking. Go. But we're still here right now. We're still here. So you were I don't want to say in recovery because you didn't quite know that you would ever walk again. So
100%.
You'd literally gone, this is me now, and this is what I'm going to do. Were there moments where you thought that you would walk again? Was there a hope?
There's always a hope, and it's a hope for anyone who's really in that situation. And you've got to kind of balance this hope and this positivity with reality. And the reality is I probably never will, you know, but there is always that hope. And so I found for me as an individual, the best strategy was I am where I am now. And if it's like this the rest of my life, I accept it. And now I'm going to do everything I can in my power to try and change it. And not everybody gets the opportunity to walk again. No matter how hard you work or whatever. I was quite fortunate that my spinal cord injury was what's called incomplete. So as the weeks and months ticked away and swelling goes down around your cord, I still had some stuff that still worked. And so I was fortunate enough to learn to walk again and eventually learn to ride bikes again and things. But I mean, still now, you said we're 19 years later. I mean, I'll speak quite frankly, I still can't run, I can't jump, I can't feel hot and cold below my chest. I still have to self-catheter every day. There's a lot of like very permanent issues that I deal with, but I choose to focus on what I can do and not what I can't do.
Well, it's a miracle that you did get your legs back to
100%,
where they are today. Yeah. I have to ask, because I know the audience are listening and watching going, why the hell did you get back on a bike?
Yeah.
If you've gone through that, why 100%. Did we get back on a bike?
No, can I tell you, and it's because I'm not dead yet, but the thing is what a lot of people don't realize, and perhaps there's an opportunity for me to try to explain this, you know, this thing, because most people have seen guys who ride motorcycles, and they might work with a guy or a girl who rides and this kind of stuff. And one day they'll pitch up at the office and they've broken a collarbone, you know, or they've broken a wrist, and they'll be like, you bikers, you know, all this sort of stuff. And then 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, they're riding again, and they're thinking like, what are you doing? And then anyway, it carries on, and 2 years later, they'll come in and they've got their leg in a cast or something like that, and they're like, what? And when you look at the outside and you see those injuries over time, and you've heard of someone who had something even worse, and you go like why? You know, why would you do it? But what you don't see from the outside is you don't see that in-between time. Now, if I look at my life, since breaking my back and today, I've been able to ride in over 50 different countries. I've ridden through places like the Maluti Mountains in Lesotho and through Mauritania and had nights stuck out in the Sahara Desert and Australia, New Zealand and Middle East and all these kind of, like, the richness of that. And so every now and again, you pay a bit of school fees, But in between, it's amazing. And the guy who rides, he knows that. And so when you're back at the office and you got your arm in a cast and people are like saying, oh, you guys, and you're feeling that kind of judgment, you want to like kind of grab them and say, you have no idea, you know, of all the differences. And everybody has a different, what would you call it, appetite for risk. And the payoff for me is a no-brainer, man. It's a no-brainer. So yeah, there's risk, but nothing in life is worthwhile that doesn't have some kind of risk. And so for me, the risks, for me, are well worth it.
So we're friends on Facebook, and we follow each other and see what we do. And last year, you can call it a midlife crisis. I got a bicycle, a mountain bike, and then I also got my motorbike. So I'm on it, and I'm doing it, and I'm experiencing exactly what you're speaking about.
Yeah.
And the line that I can put it to in a simple way that you said something so beautifully is that whether it's a bicycle or a motorbike or some sort of extreme sport, it takes you places that you had never or would never have the opportunity to go to.
And that some people don't even know exists. Yeah. You know what I mean? The places around South Africa that we have, for instance, there's so much out there. And like you mentioned, mountain biking, that falls, or you know, I don't know if it's mountain biking or street biking.
It's mountain biking.
Mountain biking,
I'm a
perfect.
mountain biker.
No, that's it. So it's like, but you look at all these kind of sports, they do exactly that. They take you to places, but they have their risks.
Yep.
Lots of guys on mountain bikes get seriously hurt.
Yep.
You know, lots of guys who do snow skiing get hurt. Lots of guys who do yachting or whatever it is. If you want to experience some life, you got to take some risk. And so for me, I wear the gear, man, and I'm careful, and I try my best not to crash. There's no glory in crashing and breaking bones, but every now and then it does pop up.
Well, it does pop up. Last time I chatted to you, you just hit a camel, I think. You hit a camel.
This is true.
You've also hit a cow.
Yeah. Man, you like really just bringing those skeletons out the closet. Yeah, so the camel was on a race I did that was through North Africa, and we raced from Monaco to Dakar, Senegal. It was called the Africa Eco Race, second last day of the race in South Mauritania. We were on a road section. We had even finished all the racing for the day. Second last day. The last day was a 22-kilometer down the beach in Dakar, and this camel just stood out in front of us. And there was 4 of us riders, myself and my buddy Greg, and a couple of British guys. We were just cruising along, you know, less than 100 k's an hour. Last second, it was like this little tree bush stood out. 3 of us hit the same camel. It was insane. And unconscious, medevaced out with a helicopter. Got to a government hospital in North Senegal after midnight, after a 7-hour trip. It was lots of cool, crazy stories, let's say. But got back on the bike the next day, stitches in my head, broken wrist, torn rotator cuff. And the last day was 22 Ks, and I'd done all the other racing, and I was like, we're not quitting now. So we put a plastic bag over my head that we could get the helmet on, and did 22 Ks and finished the race. And that was in 2020, so long after the Dakar I did in South America. It's a story not a lot of people know, but it was pretty cool.
Everything.
Yeah.
I know everything.
I can tell, dude. I'm a little nervous.
No, Joey. So the Dakar itself, right?
Yeah.
It was a goal. You set that sort of on your vision board to go, I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
What does it take to get to the point where you're accepted as one of the competitors in the Dakar?
I think what people don't realize is they'll see guys at Dakar and they think, oh, look, he's lucky you got there. Can I tell you, it is not easy for anyone because it's a massive amount of money right off the bat, which is a big one. But you have to have been riding for several years. You got to build up skills. You don't have to be an extreme enduro rider. You don't have to be an extreme street rider or whatever, but you have to have a pretty good level in all those areas because Dakar brings it all together with navigation and like looking after your body and dehydration and also, you know, it's like so much stuff together. And so generally, if there's a guy on the start line at Dakar, he's spent years and years riding bikes and building up those skills. But also you have to qualify. They don't just let anyone because they have guys die almost every year and out in the desert and stuff. So they can't afford, and especially in the bike category, cars are a little more lenient, but in the bike category, you have to fulfill certain things. And so for me, it was like I had to go and race in Morocco. I did a 6-day race through the Sahara in Morocco, and I'd done a bunch of multiple day races in Southern Africa, Botswana, you know, Northern Cape, that kind of stuff. And you have to submit a CV, and then it goes to the ASO, which is a company that owns Dakar. Same company that owns the Tour de France. They go through those CVs and they select about 140 guys from around the world. So to get an entry is is a super cool thing to have, you know. And so anyone on that start line is like they've walked the road to get there. Yeah.
They're meant to be there.
Oh yeah, they're meant to be there. And so if you see a guy giving up a Dakar, you better believe that dude did everything he can. He left blood out on that course before he gets to the point where he can no longer go. Guys just don't quit.
How far is the Dakar and how many days is it?
It changes each year because each year it's a different route. But on average, it's about 10,000 kilometers, and it's normally about 13 days.
13 days. Yeah. And it's tough. It's
tough. Oh yeah, no, it's
tough.
proper. Yeah.
So I mean, this is not in the same category at all. So don't slap me. But I did the Defender Trophy Challenge recently.
Oh, cool.
It was 3 days of extremities that I mean, by the end of it, I was crying because I was just thankful that it was over.
100%. Well, I know you've done Kilimanjaro as well and stuff. And I remember reading stuff about you doing that. And it's like, you'll know that those things that take you to those places that are really tough and really hard, and you're digging deep and you're fighting back the tears or whatever it is, and then when you accomplish it or you finish it, they're so sweet, man. But if you don't have that dark time, you don't get the reward. You gotta have that suck fest at the bottom.
The suck fest. I mean, that says it way better. I was gonna say you can't enjoy the sweet without enduring the sour.
That's it.
Like that's a big part of life. And these experiences and your different chapters that you've had in your life have brought you to where you are now as a public speaker. Do I say motivational speaker? Is that
I don't know, man. Motivation always makes you sound like you're going to make the guy hug the guy next to him in the crowd or something. So yeah, keynote speaker, inspirational speaker, yeah.
Also, from what I understand, in the Hall of Fame for keynote speakers in South Africa since 2024. Which, I mean, that's insane. That's insane.
Well, it's been a journey. And I mean, you speak yourself, and I've heard amazing things about you and your talks. No, really, it's incredible, you know, the whole stuff you do, but especially in that area. And you'll know that it's like, it takes work, man. Yeah. It's a bit of a craft, getting all that stuff right, taking the audience on the journey. And for me, it was definitely a learned skill. You know, there was a lot of, like, I look at the ones back in the beginning and they sucked, man. They were pretty bad. You know,
I mean, don't say that now. Some of the corporates might be like, we want our money back. We want our money back.
No. That check's been banked. But it was, you know, you're talking like 2017, you know, that was, you know, you'd play videos they don't play. And, you know, it's like, it's a whole thing, you know, with all of that side and the speaking and the stagecraft and, you know, weaving in messages and stuff. And so it's been a learning journey. But being able to speak now all over the world has been incredible. And where I go to speak, I'll try to organize to ride there, which has got me to riding places. Often my wife will join me. So we'll have like these little built-on holidays. It's been life-changing.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what you are. You're not a motivational speaker. You can call yourself in the corporate world a public speaker or a keynote speaker because we understand that.
Sure.
But I think above everything else, you are a storyteller.
Oh, I love that.
And that's the most important thing when you climb onto a stage is to tell stories that people can relate to and then learn from.
Oh, I love that.
And you're a storyteller. And your story is incredibly inspirational and powerful. And it's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle that you've gone on to do what you have done after saying, doctors said you would never walk again. That's what they said. You do have a book out as well,
yes.
Which I need to add, like on the list of CVs and his repertoire. This is a bestseller. It's a best-selling book. So if you want it, it's called Joey Evans from paraplegic to Dakar, and it's the story of how you got to that point.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of stuff that I can't even get to in the talks or whatever. So the cool thing with writing the book was that you get to put it all in there, every little detail, how it felt, those moments. So I hope people enjoy it.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, I need to bring up, so the last time I had you in studio, you were about to go on to a race with Terrence Marsh.
Yes, yep.
And you were doing the whatever 400, because whatever the race is, Harry Smith 400, whatever it was. And I'd done it before. So Terrence Marsh and the team, they put a celebrity in the hot seat, and you had to navigate the 400 kilometer race off-road. And before you went, so you were the next one, whatever. I'd gone a year before you, and I was the only person that had ever finished podium.
Oh,
So
nice, dude.
I need to find out.
No,
where
we
did you
didn't.
Come?
Can't even remember, to be honest. But it wasn't podium, so yep, you got that one, buddy.
Joey, it's been great having you in studio.
It's been brilliant, man.
It's
really
great
good.
to catch up. If
Awesome.
anybody wants to follow you, book you, buy your book, do you have somewhere?
100%. My website is the best, and it's dead easy. joeyevans.co.za.
It's been fantastic. Thank you so
buddy.
much.
Appreciate it.
Another great episode, another inspirational South African. Please follow him. He is incredibly interesting and a really great guy. Like I say every week, okay, love you, bye.
Cheers.